I was a huge UFO nerd. I don't know if I can always remember it, especially with the health issues. I get lightheaded, but I got to be honest with you. When I was still working, I went over to use the microwave at work, and they had just for shits and grins. I'm not a big fan of Trump. I'm kind of glad he's gone. I really don't want to do politics in here, so if I do drift into it, it's completely accidental, if not incidental. Um, but it's part of this story, so I'm going to dip into it a little bit. Don't if you it's okay if you don't agree with me on politics. That's fine. That's not part of this discussion. But I've always been a huge UFO. I like same thing with like ghost stories and shit like that. I've always been a big fan of them. But for me to be a diehard believer, I need proof. I've got damn near to stack them. I just got here. I haven't gotten any today, but I've got just about a stack of them back. I just haven't cooked them up yet. But been a little bit of a fan of the UFO. Always have been. Not gonna apologize for it. And I was at work, and there was a thing that came across news. Like I went over to use the I went over to use the microwave, and they had CNN at work, and they had the like in the break areas where you had the microwave, the fridge, and the other stuff. They had a TV, and it was usually on CNN, unless it was some in-house safety meeting, some other bullshit. And they did a thing where they were saying that I want to say this was like 3, 4 years ago, uh, about 2 or 3 years ago, and they did a thing where they were talking about how the military was letting people know that UFOs were real. And I am not going to lie, the first thing that came to mind was what the fuck did Trump do that he's trying to cover up? Because I figured the whole thing was bullshit. I absolutely figured the whole thing was bullshit. And I figured if they ever hear him refer to something as Wag the Dog, there's actually, I think, a movie by that name. And what it refers to is when somebody in power uh, either creates or manufactures or revs up a story to cover something else up. Like Clinton was always accused of this, and some of it I don't know, maybe is true. I don't know. I don't think it was, but I think a reasonable person could come to a different conclusion. But like, let's say you had a sex scandal, you got a blowjob, and you wanted to cover it up, and so you go and bomb some country that maybe deserves to be bombed, but you weren't going to bomb, but you go and blow the hell out of that country, and then guess what? Everybody's talking about the war. They're not talking about your blowjob. And that was the theory, and they might be right. I don't think so, but maybe, maybe not. I don't. And that's what I figured this was. I figured this was a wag the dog, and he's ginning things up about UFOs. But the more I've looked into it, apparently it wasn't bullshit because the now he may have declassified it for that. But I actually thought the whole thing was a hoax. I literally thought the whole thing was a hoax. And now that I've had time to look into it a little bit, I it came up in my feed because I watched something else, and apparently there was a bipartisan thing. Uh, it was started by Harry Reid when he was still the majority leader. A Republican senator from Alaska, Ted Stevens, he's either dead or retired now. He signed on it because they were trying to get it some bipartisan support. And Harry Reid had and I don't know if this guy's in office anymore, but it was the Democratic senator from Hawaii. I can't remember what his name is, and he's either still there or he's been replaced by somebody. But that I can't tell you off the top of my head. He's not from my state, so I didn't really know him until they talked about him in this. Well, apparently they were on board and they were trying to find out. Well, this Republican, when he got wind of what was going on, he came to them and said, "Hey, I'm in. Whatever you need, I'll help you with it." And apparently he had served in the military. This is my understanding of my recollection of I think it was on the Joe Rogan experience where they were talking about my recollection, and I've had some really shitty health days, so take it for what it's worth. But if I remember right, he served in the military and he saw things. And he would have either been World War II or Korea, but he saw things or heard things and honestly wanted to get to the bottom of it. It was just a genuine thing. And what they were talking about on the Joe Rogan experience, I'm gonna try and have this as organized as I can humanly do it while being on the fly with it. Uh, Harry Reid and them, they wanted to turn this thing into a SAP, a special access project. And what their hope was that they could basically get it set up as a special access project, and then by having that designation, it would be able to get into other SAPs. And they were hoping that this thing could leach onto other special access programs and find out what they knew. They were basically doing it, at least on some level, as a fishing expedition, is the way I understood it. I haven't streamed in a while, so most of the people probably are going to have a heart attack that I really haven't felt good. I was going to try and do it Tuesday, and I don't know if it was something else or not. I just think my allergies kicked in when I ate. Sometimes when I eat food, my sinuses will start draining. Um, Hang on. But they were trying to. I haven't found any debris so far. Um, but they were trying to do a fishing expedition, I think, on some level with, and they were denied. They were basically told it would be a classified thing. It would be classified, but it wasn't going to be a special access project. Now, if these are true, these things I've learned from watching. Most of it's from Joe Rogan shows. Okay, and there there are currently special access projects which some people that maybe should have access don't have access to. And I want to go back to you might not know this. Now this is actually true. You should be able to look up and find enough convincing evidence of this. We have had two former presidents that I know of who actually saw UFOs. One of them was Reagan, the other one was Carter. And that's a fact. You can look that up. My understanding, and this is stuff I knew before. This is not new information to me. Um, President Carter, when he got into office, he actually tried to get access to the UFO. He wanted access to it. And the story I've heard, take it for what it's worth, is at the time the current head of the CIA, George W. H.W. Bush, Daddy Bush, future president. He denied it. He didn't deny that he didn't basically tell them, no, we don't have anything on UFOs. He basically told them that he did not have any need to know, so he was denied. And there is also rumors that Bill Clinton did the same thing, that he tried to get access to it and they denied him. Don't know if it's true or not, but I did hear that. And then the other thing that I heard, and this goes back to before the current shit. They tried to do that to Eisenhower when Eisenhower came into office. And the way I understood it is whatever facility he was aware had the information, he the way I heard it, and this might not be true, but the way I heard it, he actually showed up with a unit of military people. And he basically told them that they were going to basically do what he told them, or he was going to fucking breach their security with his armed forces. Because Eisenhower had the stones for that. And so Eisenhower got read into it because they tried the same bullshit to him. Now, telling you that they have purposely tried to keep aliens out of it. And the one thing I will tell you is, and this is another factual thing that you can look up. Reagan, when he was president, you should be able to find it. I can't tell you off the top of my head what it is, but it used to be up on YouTube. I think all you'd have to do to search for it is like search for Reagan's UFO speech. There's a speech that President Reagan did where he basically said something along the lines, I'm going to paraphrase it, but he basically said that, you know, all the problems that we have on the earth here where people can't get along with one another. He goes, if if we were suddenly confronted with an alien, some kind of an enemy from outside our planet, how quickly would our problems with each other disappear and we'd be able to unify to fight this common enemy? And the best example I can give you of this would be